Have you ever wondered what's really behind the global economic collapse? What if I told you that it's not just about trade wars, inflation, or political instability? What if the forces shaping our financial system are far deeper, far more complex, and far more hidden than we could ever imagine? Welcome to the Silver Collapse Report, where we dive into the unseen factors causing the instability in the global economy and how they could directly affect you, your family, and your future. Stick around, because what we're about to uncover might change the way you look at money, markets, and the world around you forever. Before we get started, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't already. It helps us bring you more content like this, and trust me, you won't want to miss what's coming up. Now, let's dive in. We've all heard it. The global economy is on the brink of collapse. But what exactly does that mean, and why is it happening? To understand this, we need to look at something most people overlook: the hidden forces behind the scenes, the things that are quietly pulling the strings without us even noticing. It's easy to blame inflation, national debt, or stock market crashes for our financial woes, but these are just symptoms of a much bigger disease. The real problem lies in a system that has been designed to maintain a delicate balance, a balance that is now starting to unravel. At the core of the problem is an unsustainable financial system. For decades, the global economy has been built on a foundation of debt. Think about it. When the government spends more than it earns, it borrows money. When corporations expand, they issue debt. Even you and I, as consumers, borrow money to buy homes, cars, or pay for college. Debt has become so embedded in the fabric of our lives that it almost feels normal. But here's the kicker: the more we borrow, the more fragile the system becomes. We're talking about a web of financial obligations so intricate, so massive, that one wrong move could cause everything to collapse. And that's exactly what we are seeing now. This fragile system is starting to buckle under its own weight. You see, debt isn't just about money being borrowed and repaid, and it's about the flow of credit and liquidity that keeps everything functioning. When that flow is interrupted, when the credit system begins to freeze up, the economy starts to grind to a halt. But debt alone isn't the only hidden force at play. There is another shadowy factor that plays a massive role in all of this: the role of central banks. These institutions, like the Federal Reserve in the United States, control the money supply. They set interest rates, they decide how much money gets printed, and they're responsible for controlling inflation. On the surface, they appear to be working in the best interest of the public, but dig a little deeper and you'll find that their actions often have the opposite effect. For example, when the economy faces a downturn, central banks cut interest rates and inject more money into the system. This is called monetary easing. Sounds good, right? More money means more spending, more investment, more jobs. But the problem is, this artificially inflates the economy, creating a false sense of prosperity. It makes people feel wealthier than they really are, because they're borrowing and spending more than they can afford. The economy seems to grow, but in reality, it's built on a foundation of sand. And when the bubble bursts, everything comes crashing down. And the worst part? The people who suffer the most are the everyday citizens, the very people who are told that these actions will help them. We see rising costs of living, stagnating wages, and growing inequality, all while the rich get richer and the average person falls further behind. Central banks may claim they're trying to stabilize the economy, but in reality, they're propping up a system that only benefits a select few. This brings us to another hidden factor: the rise of financial institutions and corporations that wield more power than most governments. Think about it. Major banks, hedge funds, and multinational corporations are too big to fail. They hold enormous sway over policy decisions, and their actions ripple through the global economy, influencing everything from interest rates to trade agreements. When the financial crisis of 2008 hit, it was the average person who lost their home, their job, and their savings. But it was the largest financial institutions that received billions in taxpayer bailouts, and they're still reaping the benefits today. So what happens when these institutions make mistakes? What happens when they take on too much risk, or when they manipulate markets to create short-term gains? Unfortunately, we've seen this scenario play out over and over again. And the consequences are always the same. Ordinary people pay the price. This isn't a conspiracy. It's the reality of how the financial system operates. The game is rigged and the house always wins. But here's the most unsettling part of all. We're not just dealing with economic problems anymore. We're facing a global systemic collapse that could affect every aspect of our daily lives. The rise of artificial intelligence, automation, and the ongoing push for digital currencies are all part of this larger shift. These technologies are changing the way we live, work, and interact with money, but they're also further consolidating power in the hands of the few. If you think things are bad now, imagine a future where central banks control digital currencies, where cash is obsolete, and where your every transaction is monitored and controlled. Now, let's take a step back and consider the bigger picture. The global financial system is interconnected. And a collapse in one part of the world can trigger a domino effect that impacts everyone. Take the recent crisis in China, for example. With its massive debt burden, failing real estate sector, and declining manufacturing, China's economy is teetering on the brink of disaster. But what happens if China's economic woes spread to other countries? What happens if Europe's debt crisis reignites, or if a major geopolitical event causes a disruption in the flow of trade? The ripple effects would be catastrophic. And here's the kicker. We're already seeing the early signs of this unraveling. The signs are everywhere. Rising inflation, supply chain disruptions, global unrest, and the ever-widening gap between the rich and the poor. All of these are symptoms of a larger problem. The global financial system is reaching its breaking point. So, what can you do about it? How can you protect yourself, your family, and your future from the coming storm? First and foremost, you need to understand that the old ways of thinking about money are no longer enough. The world is changing and you have to adapt. One of the most important steps you can take is to diversify your investments. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Gold and silver, for example, have historically been safe havens during times of financial crisis. In fact, precious metals are often seen as the ultimate hedge against inflation and currency devaluation. But you also need to stay informed. Follow the news, understand the forces at play, and always be prepared for the unexpected. And, most importantly, don't wait for the government or the financial system to save you. It's up to you to take control of your own financial future. We're not trying to scare you here. We're just giving you the facts. The global economy is at a crossroads, and the decisions we make today will determine the world we live in tomorrow. If you're not already thinking about how these hidden forces will affect you, now is the time to start. If this video has resonated with you, do me a favor and leave a comment below. Let RS start a conversation. How do you think the global economic collapse will affect you and your community? Share your thoughts, and let's get the dialogue going. And don't forget to share this video with anyone who needs to hear this information. The more people who understand the truth, the better prepared we'll all be. Thanks for watching the Silver Collapse Report. Stay informed, stay vigilant, and always question the system. See you in the next video.